Hello, everybody. My name is Average Election Enjoyer, and I am here today to have a brief rundown over the August 26th special elections, legislative elections that will be going on here today. The first election I want to cover is going to be California Assembly District 63. Democrats hold 60 of 79 seats in the California State Assembly. So this district actually went to Republican by 14 points in 2024. Year for Republicans. It was the first year that Donald Trump actually won the popular vote. So Republicans had an overall very impressive year in 2024. Um, so the same person he defeated back in 2024 is going to be rerunning, and he's now running against Natasha Johnson. Bill Islay, he was selected by Donald Trump to become. Uh, he was appointed as a U.S. attorney for the Central District of California. So currently, there was a primary results on June 24th, 2025 for this race, with Natasha Johnson getting 46.2% of the vote, with the Democrat Chris Schultz getting 44.1% of the vote. They did have a Republican taking 8.4% of the votes away from Natasha Johnson. So that could be interesting to see if they show up or they decide not to vote now that their candidate is in. This election will be decided by both seeing how many people turn out for the actual election versus just this was just the primary. So this will be interesting to see how many people really show up for the actual election versus just the primary, and see how many of these voters vote for Natasha Johnson versus just staying home now that their preferred candidate has been knocked out of the race. There's also a Libertarian Party person running, getting 1.3% of the vote. Um, that'll be interesting because in this election it could be pretty close. That's where we're going to be. That's going to be the theme for a lot of these elections today. It's going to be seeing how close some of the elections can really get. Um, Out of 315,578 of voters, 57,930 would end up voting in this primary with a total turnout of 18.36%. So we're going to be seeing exactly how much that turnout increases, or well, it could decrease, but less likely because this is a primary, and going into the actual election, people tend to turn out at least a bit more, even though this is just a state assembly election. I shouldn't say just a state assembly election. These state assembly elections are, and state senate and state House of Representatives elections are all very important. They decide, policy that goes on within the state. So if you are disenfranchised with what your state is doing, it's usually the doing of like local laws. It's the doing of you know, the more local offices like what these are running for. So these can be incredibly important. Especially in these redistricting where here you just have the primary, and then the past election here is the final results. You had 60 to 36, so a large margin win for Republican Bill Islay. Previously, this district has leaned Republican for a very long time. 1992 to 2012, Republicans won. Uh, Democrat Anthony Rendon won 2012, stayed in the seat till 2022, where, as previously said, Bill SE won, and he resigned this year after being appointed a U.S. attorney. So it'll be interesting to see if this district continues to be in the Republican column, or if it might be a flip back towards the Democrats. So that'll be the first of these races. It says here suburban Los Angeles. It's Riverside. Riverside is a big city in itself, and it's relatively far away from Los Angeles. But as a California native myself, I should be used to, you know, people saying, it's just a suburb of Los Angeles when it's, reality 2 hours away. But a lot of people know Los Angeles, not a lot of people know Riverside, so that does make a bit of sense. even though it does offend locals such as myself. The next elections are going to be in the Minnesota Senate Districts 2947. These are the primaries. This is going to be incredibly important races as the Minnesota State Senate. 33 Democrats, 32 Republicans. So depending on who wins these races, you might see a Republican majority or a Democrat majority. Previously stated, I talked about how important these local races are. They decide policy, but also with the gerrymandering wars that are kind of going on with these states, this could be the difference between passing and denying a redistrict attempt in your state. So this could be very interesting, races and very impactful even for national politics. These local races have a big impact on national politics. The next race is going to be the Iowa Senate District 1 special election. It was won by Rocky DeWitt in 2022, who unfortunately he passed away. He won by a 10-point margin. So this could be an interesting race. If you saw the special elections earlier in Florida this year, you saw that some of those races really changed from they went from 30-point races to 15. So we'll see if any sort of similar any sort of similar like changes in the election composition, like who's voting for who, happens in 2024. We could see potential flip. Right now, of course, it's going to be a low turnout election, so Democrats, and especially because there's some backlash being seen with the Trump administration right now, we'll see. This will be a big indicator on whether that backlash is getting realized in these local low turnout elections. 2026 midterms coming up. These are going to be big indicators. These special elections, big indicators for 2026. Because 2026 is going to be a less turnout year. Presidential years tend to have a higher turnout than midterm. So this could be more indicative of what the national environment is looking like going into those races. Finally, in Iowa, Joni Ernst is a fairly unpopular senator, so Democrats are looking to target Iowa, see if they can. It's a kind of a long shot to try to win the Senate election in Iowa. Iowa's been red for since Obama, so it's been a fairly long time, over 10 years. So that'll be kind of a high bar to set, try to take down Joni Ernst. But if you can make it close, you can try to if you can capitalize on some of the anti-Trump sentiment going on, it'll be a lower turnout election, and Democrats tend to have a turnout advantage in some of these elections. So this will be a very interesting indicator for the Senate election that will happen in a little bit more than a year. This could be it. And also, finally, as I was saying earlier, redistricting war. Democratic flip could end the GOP supermajority in the Senate, so that could end a lot of what the Republicans, their agenda. They can't just force it through, so that'll be a very interesting outcome, huge outcome for the local Democrats there in Iowa in holding back the Republican agenda, which is going to probably be their goal. So this is a big race, and it could have major implications both nationally and locally. And then we got the Alabama House District 11 election. Republicans hold a large majority in the Alabama House of Representatives. So Republican Randall Shedd resigned, and he was unopposed in 2022. However, election, of course, is opposed this year. Alexandria Braswell is going to be taking on Heath Albright in this election. Republicans hold, of course, a large advantage in this election. Last election was, of course, not even contested, so it'll be interesting to see if Alexandria Braswell can do relatively well in this election. That would show that there's a decent amount of Republican or opposition against the Republican Party, and we'll be finding out somewhat shortly. Polls close at 7:50 Eastern time currently, so we'll be finding that out shortly. And then finally, we actually have results coming in for the Georgia State Senate 21 special election. This is another very Republican area. Last time this election was decided by a 70-30 margin for Brandon Beach, who was then appointed U.S. Treasurer by President Trump. So if there's going to be a lot of Republican backlash, this will be a very key district to see it in. And right now, the Deborah Shingley is actually doing really well in this election. This was way closer than when I looked at it earlier. It was about 25, and then like or sorry, the Deborah Shingley had about 32-33%, and then 25. But it seems she's actually building up a. She's actually getting pretty close to a majority here. It's only 61 in so far, so it's probably gonna shift back towards the GOP, especially because the GOP is so split up. But if somehow she manages to get a majority of the vote for 50%, that would just be the election right there, and then that would be a very interesting result for this seat. So I'm gonna be making a video later that is gonna be going over the results of these elections. So this election has got me pretty surprised so far. I'll be breaking down the counties and all that later, talking about turnout and whatnot, and what kind of implications that might have for future elections. But so that'll be the video right now, and I'll be seeing you guys later. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day or night, depending on where you're watching this from. And happy start of special election season.